Hi, this is Naomi with Sword and Steel, and I just want to talk to you today about the new Warcry. I've played over a dozen games now with 4 different people and many more different factions. I'm just going to tell you my first impressions on that, as well as, while I'm chatting, go through the contents of this Warcry box, which is the only place that you can get the new rules for the Warcry Heart of Ghur variant of Warcry, except you are now able to get all of the updated rules for every faction in Warcry, all online. I'll also put the links to that down in the video. Games Workshop has given us all of them free to look at and to use when you're playing your games of Warcry. Alright, first off, just to get you some context, this Warcry set called Heart of Ghur, besides tools to assemble your models with, you have absolutely everything you need to play all in this one kit. Rulers, dice, the core rulebook, the warband cards, deployment cards, terrain cards, twist cards, and victory condition cards. All of it are in there so that you can get it all in the one go. Warcry is still a very straightforward way to play. I have taught many people how to play Warcry, and they had never played a war game before, and they figured it out by the 3rd round. I didn't have to remind them what the rules were. They knew how to read everything. They could figure it out on their own. The rule book, even though I really would wish people would put in a glossary so that when you're looking for something, you have the page number to where it is. That isn't the case, but it doesn't take too long to find anything. There is 3 and 4 player options. And in the back, easy to find, is additional deployment maps, twist maps, victory condition maps, and terrain maps using this new terrain kit. So in addition to the cards, you also have that in the rulebook if you just wanted to bring your rulebook somewhere. You now can have 3 heroes with the leader. Well, now it's called the hero rune mark. You have 1 leader, which you just pick between the 3 heroes that you can now take. You used to only be able to take 1, now you can take 3. I like that just because it's just, instead of having a basic group, which you still could do, you need only 1 leader with a leader rune mark. But you could add in more specialized characters. Characters that you spent more time painting on, probably, you can add them in. Does that put a disadvantage on the previous warbands that only have 1 leader? And it doesn't seem to necessarily, because if you've ever played Warcry, you know that luck and strategy, still toughness, but luck and strategy overtake whatever warband you are using. Some warbands will be easier to play. Again, toughness. You got big toughness, you got an immediate advantage. You got flying, you got an advantage. You got archers, you have an advantage. But also luck and strategy. You will never win 100% of the time with any of the above, but it is something that you have to consider when you're building toughness, archers, flying. They did change flying's advantage a bit in that you can't fly around with treasure anymore. Treasure now takes away your ability to fly and gives you a -1 to movement. I would like that because, generally speaking, the person who got an advantage at all during treasure would be the one to win the treasure, unless you made some fatal mistake or were incredibly lucky. The reason I like the change of the heroes the most, definitely that you get to play with more interesting heroes, should you choose to. What I would suggest for those who are mostly playing with the warbands that were previously created, even these guys, they only have 1 leader in them each, so there'll still be plenty of games where you'll only have the 1 hero. But what you can do, of course, is make your own heroes and call them Heart Eater, or the hero here is called the Witherlord, or the Runator Alpha. You just make your own. Why not? You don't have to use the exact same models. You don't have to go and get yourself a big 10-man war group when you only need 2 more models. Make your own. Find one that looks cool. Make it. If you haven't tried that part of Warhammer, you should. But I have tried the Untamed Beast just as they were with only 1 leader, and they did just fine. I can't say that they won because we were doing a 4-group fight-off, and the Sylvaneth player won, but I was the last opponent before Mia Sylvaneth beat me. The other big difference is that they are now reactions. You'll see when you go online and check out all of the rule systems, I'm pretty certain each of the factions have their own unique reaction. A reaction is not an ability. It looks like an ability when you see it on paper, but it's not an ability. It's more like another action. An action that is triggered off your opponent's action. So most of the reactions seem to be when your opponent targets your fighter can react, as long as you have actions that the fighter hasn't used yet. So unlike abilities that don't require any actions, reactions take your actions, 1 action per reaction. But why that would be useful and why I like it is that for, in some cases, a big nasty guy comes up to your wee little fella, and there is nothing that your fellow can do before he dies because the big nasty just slays him outright. In this case, even though you have never activated this fighter, he has a reaction. He could potentially be more likely to save himself. Reactions, there is a reaction against archers, which is always nice. Or he does a bit of damage back, like the Rotmire Creed's reaction is they have a potential to do damage back when they're targeted. Those really are the major differences that I think you would find, something that you have to consider when you're going ahead and making your warband and playing this game, but for the most part it just feels like Warcry. Right, so this faction is the Horns of Hashut, and even on the card it has these are the different variants that you could build, but you actually are building 10 models. The Shatterers, you get to have 3. The choices that you make with them are purely aesthetics. There's an extra head for each one. So you just choose your favorite head, and there's an extra option at the end of their spear-like weapons. You can choose a variety of them. You also have the option of creating 3 demolishers with crushing weapons, and again, they're crushing weapons. Which ones you choose are purely aesthetics. You get 3 of them. You can build 1 demolisher with flame hurler. I think I would have preferred to build more of them, but the kit only provides enough material to make 1 of the demolishers of flame hurler. So if you want to make one, you're gonna have to customize it if you want more than 1. Goes the same with the one with a shield. I think I would have wanted to have all of them with the shields because, again, I like having extra toughness. But there is only 1 shield in the group unless you want to steal it from the other warband, because they will have shields if you didn't want to use their shields. So I mean, lore-wise, it might not be the wrong shield, but maybe they just picked it up when they were fighting. There is the option for a Runator. Everything that you choose for him is also purely aesthetics. There's a couple of different weapon options. Options are purely aesthetic. And then you have your Runator Alpha. He can either be wielding a Warbident like I have here. I just enjoyed the look of the Warbident more than I did the heavy flail. He's holding some sort of thing that he's going to throw at someone. I like this variant. He has an option to not have this chain across, so he has a different part of this head piece if you don't want to have the chain across. So he has the option for the Warbident, and he could also be a Runator Alpha with heavy flail. So there would be 2 different statistics depending on who you chose. And there are enough pieces to turn your Demolisher with Crushing Weapon and Shield into just a Demolisher with Crushing Weapons if you wanted to. The Demolisher with Flame Hurler wants to be assembled with the Flame Hurler, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that Flame Hurler is definitely worth using, and I kind of would have wanted more, but that's how they are. Let's give you a closer look at the Runator. So many details on these things. The head is completely separate, so you may want to assemble it after you paint it if you're very particular. The arms have all of the arms seem to be attached at either the elbow or at the wrist, so it's very straightforward to attach them as you like. And though I followed the assembly guide, you could definitely change the weapons amongst the various models to suit whatever look that you wanted. All of the heads go on at the neck, so you'd be able to change the different heads to the different people that you wanted pretty well with ease. Now, when I was assembling these heads, it was they're at an angle, and it was weird because I wanted to make them look straight ahead, even though I shouldn't be wanting to make them look straight ahead, but it just felt weird in your hands when you were gluing. Maybe it's just me, but if it feels weird to be attaching the head onto the body, it's not just you. It really does feel that strange. But everything goes together really straightforward. The average piece per model is 5 pieces. You will be able to get these done pretty darn quickly. All right, and here we have the Rotmeyer Creed. Again, there's a bunch of assembly options. The leader can be assembled just as you see here. There is no other way to assemble the Witherlord. You can see his face kind of peeking out a little bit from the helmet, so you may not want to put on the front of the helmet before you paint him. I was like, it's fine. I'll get him in there. Do you see his tiny little drooling toad? That's a cool feature. You could probably keep that off if you wanted to use him elsewhere, because it's on his little shoulder pad, and you could probably put something else on there in comparison. You might want to keep these off too as you're painting, but you know, with contrast, I think you'll be just fine. So only one way to assemble him. This one is a bloated one. You can either assemble it with raker claws, so there's going to be different stats depending. You can either assemble it as a bloated one with raker claws or a bloated one with raker claw and hooked net. As you can see, I chose the hooked net. I think you could definitely use random Nurgle models to, if you wanted any more of these hooked net guys, or maybe Splinterfane and Nurgle models in combination if you wanted to change these guys up, since you can only have one or the other in this current box kit. There are 2 of these carrying catchers. You can either have both of them with the snatcher hook. I made the female with the snatcher hook. Or you can have both of them with the impaler, or one of each, like I did. There's a fellow, and this one is the impaler, so you get extra pieces. You're going to have a bunch of extra pieces that you can use in the future. Look at that detail on his really ragged cloak. I mean, he just took anything and everything to make that cloak. Not with a lot of thought. And now, all of the rest ones are Mirefolk Outcasts. I've put 4 of them with shields, and I put 2 of them with 2 Bilewood weapons. So their statistics are going to be different depending on what you choose. The guys with the little Bilewood weapons are 65. The guys with the shields are 75. You can choose however many you want to have shields and however many you want to have weapons. There's enough shields for everyone, or there's enough extra weapons for everyone. And that is them. They all have very detailed features. They only have one head option. The head kind of only goes on the one way. You would, because most of them have cloaks. The cloaks will only fit on that particular model unless you do a bunch of customizations. I really like the look of them though. And that is it for this kit. Well, that's what I think. I am gathering people who are okay to be on camera with me, and I'm going to continue making new factions, warbands, and I will be putting out videos within the next week or so on Warcry. So if you wanted to subscribe to the channel to check those out, I will be doing for sure Stormcast Eternals, Night Haunt. I will be doing Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Untamed Beasts, Splintered Fang, potentially Orcs. All of them, really. I'll eventually be doing all of them. You'll be able to ask away about the various rules if you had any questions that didn't make sense to you as you were reading the rules yourself. What you think you like better, what is important in Warcry, what is not important, whether a 1-4 damage is better than a 2-3 damage, which I would say yes, a 2-3 damage is actually better than a 1-4 damage. I'm getting off on a tangent, and in any case, I will catch you in the next video, and I hope you have a great one. Bye! Of any of the Warhammer styles of play, Warcry is certainly one that you don't necessarily have to have a tutorial on, but I'm going to do it anyway, and since this was an early copy given to me by Games Workshop for review purposes, I will hopefully have a video out on how to play it before you even get your copies, which you should be able to buy anywhere that sells Warhammer at this point. Good luck! Bye!